At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ross for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board and our community. It is such an honor to have such amazing celebrities in our house, in our midst. So we're very proud of not only them representing our district, but our state and our region. So that's just a sign of the great community we have here. As always, we're a system asking three critical questions. Why do we do this work? Our vision. How do we accomplish the vision, our mission? And then what are our outcomes? And that's here always to get feedback to ensure that our what matches our why. Our why is that we love and grow our students. Our how is that we're focused on academic, social, emotional growth and development. And then our strategic plan is set forth with two objectives: that every student feels loved in our schools and every student has demonstrated academic growth in our schools. There are 24 strategies chasing 4 performance goals to that end. As a result, we're in the process as we prepare for our new strategic plan, our new 5-year plan that will take us out to 2032. We see that our state has a strategic plan that by 2030, 75% of our students will be at or above grade level. So with that in mind, as we plan to end next year, ending our 5-year strategic plan and beginning our new, we want to keep that goal in mind. So with that, I think we should look at the data that we have as our baseline this year. And so I'm going to ask to come to the lectern our Chief of Student Services and Planning, Dr. Harris, to bring forth our 2024-2025 test data as presented for SE Ready in the course in South Carolina Career Readiness. Dr. Harris.
Okay, thank you. Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Ross, and community, we're here to talk in reference to our 2024-2025 test data to give you results and highlights of that information that was recently shared with us by a press conference on last week. We have our Director of Accountability and Planning, Ms. Audrey Black, who's here, who will give us those highlights, and we'll be able to respond to any questions you might have.
So, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Ross, and members of the community. The last time I was before you, we talked about Victoria Bernhardt's 4 measures of data that help us to form a picture of a school, or in this case tonight, a picture of a district. One of those measures is of student learning, which can be measured by our standardized summative assessments. These assessments help provide a snapshot of what students have learned at the end of a course or the year. They allow us to measure achievement, report progress, and evaluate the effectiveness of our instruction. In addition, the state's Code of Laws in Chapter 43, Section 262, requires districts to administer state summative assessments, which serve as a common measure across schools and districts to ensure accountability and equity in reporting student outcomes. Tonight, I would like to share with you the results of 3 of the assessments. Please note that summary data for Advanced Placement Test, the ACT, and the SAT remain under embargo and are not available for release at this time. The South Carolina College and Career Ready assessments, also called SE Ready, measures student achievement in English Language Arts and mathematics for students in grade levels 3 through 8 across the state. This first chart shows the combined district and state performance in ELA across all grade levels. Lexington-Richland 5 increased 5.8 percentage points from 2024 to 2025 and outperformed the state by more than 6 percentage points in 2025. When we aggregate test scores by grade level, every grade level from 3rd through 8th show consistent growth of students meeting or exceeding expectations in ELA from 2024 to 25. Our strongest gains are in the lower grades, with 3rd grade standing out with an increase of 8 percentage points. The middle grades also show steady progress, but the real showstopper is the 8th grade, who grew by a total of 9.2 percentage points. In math, the district also shows positive growth. From 2024 to 2025, the percentage of students meeting or exceeding expectations increased by 1.2 percentage points. Additionally, District 5 students are outperforming the state by nearly 5 percentage points. When we look at math by grade level, we see trends consistent with national data from NAEP and with statewide SC Ready results. Math proficiency tends to decline as grade levels increase. Unlike the steady gains in ELA, the math results show mixed trends across the grades, with some grades levels improving, others slightly decreasing, and some holding steady. Some standout performances are 5th grade increasing 3 percentage points from 2024 to 25, and once again 8th grade standing out with its notable gain of 4 percentage points over the 2 years. Because South Carolina conducted field testing in 2024, no science scores were reported for that year. So in 2025, results show that in both 4th and 6th grades, Lexington Richland 5 students outperformed the state by 3.7 percentage points in 4th grade and 12.4 percentage points in 6th grade. The EOC is a statewide assessment program of end-of-course tests for Algebra 1, Biology 1, English 2, and United States history and the Constitution. These assessments encourage strong instruction in specific standards, measure student mastery, and count for 20% of a student's final grade. Here are the results for the students scoring a C or higher on the EOCs over the last 2 years. District 5 is represented on the bar graph, and the state scores are presented in the table below. Lexington Richland 5 students consistently score higher percentages in all 4 subjects compared to state aggregates, including strong overall academic achievement. Performance in Algebra 1 remains steady with a slight increase from 64.1% to 64.2%, significantly outperforming the state percentages. Even though we saw a 3.2 percentage point decrease in Biology 1, our students are still scoring over 16 percentage points higher than the state. The district continues to shine in English 2. Even with a slight decline from 2024, over 80% of students are scoring a C or higher on the test, which is well above the state percentage at 70%. U.S. history is another subject the district is continuing to see growth. From 2024 to 2025, the district grew 1.7 percentage points, now outpacing the state by 16.7 percentage points. The final test we'll discuss tonight is the Career Readiness Assessment. All 11th graders are required to take this test, which measures 4 areas: 1 soft skill assessment and 3 employability skills subtests in math, reading, and data. These assessments measure the most common transferable skills that employers nationwide define as fundamental for career readiness. The assessments provide students an opportunity to apply job skills, not just simply demonstrate concept knowledge. Here are the 2-year trends for each of the 4 subtests. The graphs display the 2-year trend of the percentage of students scoring a 3, 4, or 5 on the data, math, and reading assessments, and the percentages of students passing the soft skills assessment. Like the state, District 5 experienced a decline across all areas from 2024 to 2025. However, even with these dips, our students continue to outperform well above the state aggregate in every category. Overall, the results show strong overall performance. Our students score well above average in their ability to understand, interpret, and apply workforce data skills. About 80% of students reach a level 3 or higher in data in 2024. Even with a slight dip to 76.7% in 2025, our students are still well ahead of the state's percentage at 65%. This indicates our students have strong competencies in communicating effectively, conveying professionalism, promoting teamwork and collaboration, thinking critically, and solving problems. Our students also show consistent leadership in math. Though there is a slight decline, over 64% of Lexington Richland 5 students scored level 3 or higher in math in 2025, maintaining a clear lead over the state's 51.6%, showing solid foundational math skills and understanding of and ability to apply foundational mathematical reasoning skills to solve real-life workplace problems. Reading scores are particularly strong, with nearly 82% of students scoring a level 3 or higher in 2024 and still maintaining a high 79.5% in 2025, which is well above the state's 68.1%. Our students demonstrate their mastery at the ability to read, understand, and interpret written workplace text, applying new knowledge to the job, and follow instructions in complex business process documentation and organizational governance. The results showcase our students' excellent achievement in soft skills. Soft skill scores are consistently high and stable, around 80.7% in 2024 and 80.5% in 2025, which is significantly above the state average of 69.1%. This reflects strong student readiness in communication, teamwork, and other essential career skills. These highlights show that Lexington Richland 5 is preparing students well for career success, especially in critical areas like reading and soft skills. This student success led to 62.1% of those 11th grade students that took the test to receive a level 3 or higher career-ready credential. This means those students display the foundational skills to pursue ONET Job Zone level 3 career paths and higher. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Do we have any questions? Ms. Huddle?
I don't have a question, but I do have a compliment. I am just so happy and blown away by the increase, particularly in our reading scores, and just want to compliment everyone at the district office, all the teachers, all the staff, everyone, the parents, everyone. So, I mean, I thought that 75% by 2030 was not achievable, and Dr. Ross might throw something at me, but I think, it is. And we did make remarkable progress, and just compliments to everybody.
Absolutely.
Mrs. Satterfield?
Yeah, and I just sort of want to echo what Ms. Huddle was just saying, and I hope that we're giving feedback to those teachers, telling them how much we appreciate what they're doing, because sometimes we just take that data and we stick it in a notebook or put it on a chart and nobody really sees it. But, it's kind of like the Irmo baseball team. When we get a chance to brag on these folks, we need to be bragging on them for sure. So,
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Black, for a great presentation. Way to break down the data set. As we, to Ms. Huddle's point, go to that 75% goal in our strategic plan and beyond, it's really doing a great job in our MTSS model. And I just want to thank our team, our academics team, for really focusing in on Tier 1. We're going to be really driving in that. And then we are working on ways to strengthen our Tier 2. To really look at, for those students who are not hitting the mark, what can we do to continue to intervene? So we're excited from where we are, but to get to those next levels is really strengthening our MTSS. But we all can help as parents and our guardians, working with our children. The academics team has taken every expectation of what we're supposed to learn in every classroom, and you can go online under our department's academics page, Office of Academics and Academic Programs, and see what your child is supposed to be learning right now this quarter, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. You can see those expectations. We call them success criteria or I can statements. And if we have all of our parents and our guardians, our tutors, parents of your engagement tutors or our tutors, and they want to see, what are we learning? What is the expectation in English and math and science and social studies and arts? All of that's laid out in our academic program success criteria. I've gone through it, and I welcome those conversations about how, if a child is having struggles with any of these I can statements, how we can be a part of that Tier 1 and Tier 2 intervention. So with that, our operation transformation is turning all those students who say, I can't do those statements, to I can. And that begins with the heart, what we believe. We believe all children with the right types of intervention can be transformed into ICANN students. So with that, we'll offer back to the lectern for a school safety update, our Chief of Student Services and Planning, Dr. Mike Harris.
Thank you again, Dr. Ross, members of the board and our community. We, just a board meeting ago, you were kind enough to review and to approve on third reading a tobacco policy specific to student use. And within that particular policy was language that related to or referred to vaping. And certainly we heard your questions, we heard your calls for concern, and we certainly gave us a call to take a clearer look and a stronger approach in terms of what we do and how we do in terms of addressing that particular item or that particular issue related to vaping. It caused us to meet several times with our secondary principals in particular to hear from them as to where they are, what they're seeing, how they are addressing it, and aligning those things with our code of conduct to make certain that we are addressing it appropriately. To even consideration of recommendations for expulsion and not to exclude, even if there were a need for law enforcement, should there be any violations that are inclusive of THC or any other kind of drug-related use. What we've done is that we have, as we met with our administrators, we have kind of fallen on the point that we feel very comfortable and very confident in what is currently listed in our code of conduct. I had a chance to meet with legal as well, and there is great strength in what we're doing currently to address the vaping issue. However, what I wanted to do was I have invited a couple of people. They said they were going to be my bodyguards, so I don't know. But anyway, I have Mr. Polak, who is here, who's our student services officer, who is hands-on with a number of the issues related to, quite frankly, the majority of our issues related to student discipline. Vaping happens to be one of them. I've asked him to come tonight and just kind of share with you and certainly the public, those who are in virtual world, to hear what we do, what's currently in place as it relates to student discipline found in our code of conduct, as well as the program that you've heard me mention and reference before, Vape Educate, to give us some idea a little bit more about what that is and what that includes. So at this time, we'll turn to Mr. Polak.
Thank you, Dr. Harris. Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Ross. Yeah, I do not look like a bodyguard at all, as you can see. But thank you for this opportunity to discuss vaping and how we address that in our discipline. We met with Office of Student Services, met with our middle level principals and our high school principals last year to kind of come up with some consistent measures of how we address vaping and how we practice that, put it in our procedures. So for the first offense of vaping or tobacco use in our schools on the middle level, the first offense is a 3-day out-of-school suspension with the ability to reduce that to 2 days with the incorporation of Vape Educate. Vape Educate is our an online tool to educate and bring awareness on the dangers, the health risk of vaping. On the second offense, then that will lead to a recommendation for expulsion. For the high school level, after speaking with administrators, speaking with the principals, we concluded that on the first offense of vaping, it will be a 4-day out-of-school suspension and with the opportunity to reduce it to 3 days with the incorporation of Vape Educate. But on the second offense, it would be a recommendation for expulsion. And those are on Category 2 levels, and Category 2 levels of discipline are tobacco use, or drug paraphernalia. Anytime, as Dr. Harris mentioned, if it's THC or an illegal substance, that's an automatic level 3. That's not going to be allowed whatsoever within our buildings. All right? Any questions?
Before I see if anybody else has questions, for the vaping education that you referenced, you said it's online. So they do that at school and somebody's overseeing that? How do we know that they did the education?
It's a 4-hour modules that they will have to complete, and at the end of the completion of the modules, once it's completed, then they can do, they'll have 3 days of suspension, so they will have time away from home that they are able to complete those modules.
Okay. Ms. Huddle?
I have an unusual question. Do you think that, I mean, the penalty for the first offense is really harsh. Do you think that that may, I just wonder if administrators really want to follow the policy. It just seems like we may be too tough on a first offense, and don't look at me crazy, but I'm just, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, you know, like the dress code. If I see a girl with her skirt that's a little too short, I don't think 3 days of out-of-school suspension, I wouldn't do anything because I'd be like, wow, that's overkill. I mean, do you think that might be an issue?
Oh, I think the goal of serving as a deterrent from the behavior is what the purpose of those 3 days. And also, we don't know at times what's in these vapes. So the health risk and all of those things involved, we hope to deter students from even getting involved with it whatsoever.
Well, maybe a follow-up question is, how often, like, do we have a report? Do we know, like, so far this school year, how many kids have gotten out-of-school suspension for vaping?
I don't have those. No, I have numbers from last year of the
Okay,
number
well,
of
how about last year?
number of expulsions that we had from last year. I have that data right in front of me. I figured that would come, so I wanted to make sure I had it. We had a total of 24 recommendations for expulsion for possession of tobacco or tobacco use, which includes vapes, and 10 recommendations for expulsion for drug paraphernalia, which it also can include vapes, but also other drug paraphernalia as well. So that's a total of 34 recommendations for expulsions.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just really, I really want to get the kids help and not so much something that goes on their permanent record the first time they do something. And I guess that's kind of where I'm coming from. And he's the vaping guy over here.
Yeah.
But I mean, I take it really, really seriously. It's really, I have a lung
Yes.
problem. And if there's lots of parts of your body you can replace. And technically your lungs are, but nobody gets that. And these things are so dangerous
Yes, ma'am.
for kids' lungs that I just worry that maybe we're hitting something so hard that maybe we would get at more kids and get them help if it wasn't such a rough first offense.
I know that we, in this is kind of reactive. So like you're saying, we want to be more proactive in our approach. And I know Dr. Harris is going to speak to that with our awareness. But we want to see where this is stemming from and how are we getting to the point of this is the outlet that they're utilizing. So with connection with our community, with our parents, how do we kind of eradicate that? But that's going to be a proactive approach that we're looking to take.
Oh, if I may, a follow-up question, because somebody asked me, and there's a vape shop like right across the street from Irmo High School, but there's nothing we could do to stop that, right?
You can speak.
So, and Dr. Harris, we have kind of spoken to it. That sits within it's not in the town of Irmo, correct?
That's correct. It's currently Lexington County where that vape shop is located.
And I think our rule, those have to be 1,000 feet from the front door, and that is just over the 1,000, just over the 1,000-foot barrier. We've been asked to do that now. You know, one of the things that I just think as a standpoint might not go anywhere, but maybe a resolution from this body as we look inclusively internally what we can do, resolution to this body, the county council, about those things. If you remember, 2 years ago we had this matter with Chapin High School advertising on the chamber property for and I don't want to misspeak, but it was not THC, but it was one of those products there. Right, the Juuls, and the CBD, that's correct, thank you. And we were able, through the advocacy, to get that advertisement away from the students. But I think it's an all-around approach. So I'll kind of talk to Dr. Harris about some of the prevention pieces that they're doing in our district there.
And so, again, thank you for
Dr.
that.
Harris, I'm sorry.
Oh, sure.
Before Mr. Bainham had his hand up, and then Mr. Satterfield, if you don't mind.
So, and maybe we can do like a joint thing between like the town and the school district. But, similar to how we have the attendance initiative. We had like the DARE program in the past and all. If we focused on, instead of gearing towards negative consequences, trying to figure out a way to, highlight the health risk, the over 30 plus chemicals in vapes. And, the more these kids are smart. And like, hey, listen, do you want to have a family? Do you want to have a future? This is going to really damage that, prospect. So, I don't know, focusing on positive, outcomes. And there's some members on the Irmo Town Council, and I know Lexington County Council, that are really focused on our school districts, and we could, partner with them to kind of do joint, almost like a task force to focus on this for the community. Just an idea.
And I had the great fortune of being an elementary school principal, and I think early intervention and early awareness is key. And so I saw that. We don't see those numbers at elementary. They don't also have the access as secondary does, but continuing with the early intervention to hope serve as prevention as well.
Yeah, first thing I want to say is I had the great fortune of working with Mr. Pollock for several years at Dutch Fork High School, so I'm glad he's doing what he's doing. I had a couple questions for you, Mr. Pollock. One is, do we still review the discipline code handbook every year, like committee-wise look? I know that when Ms. Huddle asked about the 3-day suspension, if my memory serves, it's been pretty close to that for smoking for quite some time. This is just old folks speaking. If you don't, the kids know, they know when they don't go to school, they know how many makeup days are left. They calculate that. They figure that out. And the more opportunities you give them, the ones that want to take advantage, they will. So the consequences really have to be enough of a deterrent to stop it. And as far as permanent records, these things don't go on kids' permanent records. If they get suspended or detention, that doesn't go on every year. All kids start with a clean slate.
Okay, I was told that out-of-school suspension did, but is that wrong?
The only permanent records there are that I remember, unless something changes, are their academic records. Now, if there is a situation maybe where they're expelled, there's probably a letter put, right, Mr. Pollock, in their file. So if you decide to go to another high school, that might follow them. But just for being a knucklehead and, cutting class or something like that, it's really not fair to, those things should follow kids around, so.
You mentioned the vape education program. Do we do that before students have been caught for this? I mean, it seems like maybe if we're really interested in prevention, are they getting that program even, in middle school, in elementary school?
So we have a limited amount of seats available for that program. So we don't have enough seats. It's a costly program, so we don't have enough seats for every student to have that. There would be a great preventative measure if we had those funds, but that's not me. That's someone else. So as a part of the education component of it, we utilize that in the suspension process.
When you say we don't have the money for it, do you mean because it's a 4-hour module that people are doing online?
It's a cost per seat, so we utilize it as.
Are there other ways to provide this education? I'm thinking about like when we did the DARE program in school. You know what I mean? Like, is there some other way? Like, I get that module piece, and so maybe that's the after you've gotten in trouble piece, but what is there a simplified way, a more human, interactive way to do a broader educational piece that maybe involves somebody coming in? Do schools still do assemblies? I don't know, but something like that is what I'm thinking.
I would say, Mr. Snipe, all of that has been discussed, and what we've attempted to do or currently doing is looking at a plethora of different ways to address this. So while much of what we've discussed so far has been about on the receiving end, if you will, the discipline approach, what the code of conduct says, that sort of thing, we're also looking at one of the recommendations, I think, very strong, in addition to your support with the local municipalities and town councils. In addition to that came discussions about more intervention, as I'm hearing, that we're going to begin exploring with organizations in our area that can help us in terms of additional counseling beforehand, in advance, and certainly even after the fact, should that be the case. Individual as well as family kinds of counseling scenarios that we can partner with these organizations so that we can get additional support and additional intervention for our students. We're also going to take advantage and take this year to highlight during our Shatter the Myth program that we have each year. I think it's 2 or 3 times a year. But the one for the start is going to be October 28th. We'll talk a little bit more about that later time. But I mention it now. It's going to focus on vaping, and it's going to focus on the whole issue and concept and ideology related to vaping and all that's involved with that. The dangers, as Mrs. Boehner, I've heard you talk about, and the contents thereof, and what parents can do. So that's going to be our focus for this year throughout the course of the year, and we'll continue that. So we're looking at a number of different ways to address the issue and not just one singular way.
Ms. Huddle?
I just had a question about the consequences. If a student gets out of school suspension this year, does the clock start over next year? In other words, if they get a second offense next year, do they go back to out of school suspension, or does it now go to expulsion?
If it's next school year, going back to what Mr. Satterfield described, that student, each year that student starts over. Each year they start over. So there will be whatever occurs during the current school year, what is this, 24, 25, 26? Whatever happens, that's what happens in 25, 26. But 26, 27, each student by law starts over with their student discipline. Right. If no further question related to that, I want to move to our second item very quickly, and that is in reference to another item that we have taken note of and we have been addressing for some time now, and it does include our safety office, and it's in reference to crossing guards. We know that there are some areas where I often refer to as some hot spots, if you will, in our district where crossing guards are certainly, could be of benefit and certainly of use. I have asked Officer Wise, who's our lead safety officer, to come and share with you our current status, our current state of crossing guards here in the district, and then I'll come back with another idea or just information that I will share with you based on the information I received from you as well. Officer Wise.
Thank you, Dr. Harris. Good evening, Board. To kind of give you a brief overview of where we're at with crossing guards, it mirrors kind of where our SROs are at. We split 2 counties, and I'm going to talk about Lexington County first, and then I'll go back to Richland County. Lexington County runs, trains, if they're out, fills in for all the crossing guards for the Lexington County side. So that's run by the Lexington County Sheriff's Department. So we have currently 9 on the Lexington County side that range all the way from Harbison West to the Irmo clusters and one up in Chapin L. So it does go the whole county distance. A couple years ago, Richland County used to do the same thing, but they got out of the business of crossing guards. So we incorporated that into the safety office. Right now we have 2 crossing guards that are run, train, we fill in if they're out to the safety office. And both of those are located at Dutch Fork, one's located at Dutch Fork Middle School, Dutch Fork High, which is on Lakes Ridge 5 property, so it does not cross an actual roadway. And the other one's located at H.E. Corley. And it does touch the campus and goes across a 2-lane road right there. So there is a little bit of difference, a lot more resources on the Lexington County side because they're backed by the Lexington County Sheriff's Department. We are running the Richland County side at this point. And like Dr. Harris says, we try to keep up with what are potential hot spots, areas of concern. We definitely listen to the community, try to get input with that as well. We do have a couple of those in mind. I believe Dr. Harris is going to talk about that, but if I'm open up for any questions with the crossing guards.
Ms. Huddle?
Is that, I just remember more crossing guards in that. Were there more and we just have decreased them because maybe there are more car riders or, like, for example, I could have sworn there used to be one at 7 Oaks.
There is one at 7 Oaks. There is one that's Lexington County at 7 Oaks.
Okay.
I believe you used to see a lot more on the Richland County
Well, you said
side.
Harbison West, so I was
Yes.
just thinking that
Well, that's the most unique one we have in the district because there's 3 jurisdictions that make up Harbison West. So actually the roadway is in Lexington County, but it has a Richland County SRO.
Okay.
So luckily they did incorporate that, so they do have a Lexington County crossing guard there. Seven Oaks is also within Lexington County, so that is a Lexington County.
Okay, I was just, because I also know where those neighborhoods are, so I was like, how do the kids get there if there's no?
And most of them are neighborhood schools, so they're crossing 2-lane roads now. Crossroads
Nursery Road?
Intermediate. Yeah, Nursery Road, good example. But Crossroads Intermediate, 4-lane highway right there. We have two crossing guards that assist with that one.
So a follow-up question, I got some calls from people who said that people are parking in the Portrait Hills neighborhood that don't live there so that their kids can cross the road, and it's causing problems. And I mean, I told them, I don't think that the school district can necessarily get involved in whoever's parking at their office or whatever that is over there, and they probably need to get private security. Is that an accurate answer?
Yes, ma'am,
Because we
that's
cannot
correct.
patrol a neighborhood's
There's a lot of homes
property.
in that neighborhood, so there's a lot of kids, that you would have to figure out who's going car right. It'd be difficult, very difficult. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
Yeah, one of my concerns, I think, is Chapin Middle School. It's like 5 points out there. They're pulling out of the neighborhood, they turn right, left, they're trying to get to work. It's so congested. The car line goes not only from the school, around the circle and down the road and interferes with bus leaving. But the kids have to cross the car line first, and then they go to a little island that they stand on while cars are coming behind them and in front of them. And the little island's probably 6 square feet, maybe. I'm not good at that. But and then they have to cross the road, and you got these, a lot of folks, especially to pull into the car line, they're on their cell phones. They're not looking up at all. I've had a couple of calls recently close calls where they almost hit me because they were on their cell phones. I just tapped my horn. But I watched those middle, and probably that's the big neighborhood across the road there, and maybe they're dropping them off, but nonetheless, a lot of kids cross there. And I dropped my granddaughter off this morning, and I was watching all those kids coming, and then the parents coming from the other side from the car line, and it's a bit scary. It makes you a bit nervous. I know that administrators don't want to go out there because I remember when I used to go out and direct traffic at Chapin, and the Lexington County said they're not going to be responsible for that. And I almost went in the ditch a couple of times, but my wife ended up buying me an orange vest, I guess so they could find my body after I got hit. But that is an area, I don't know if you've been out there to watch, especially dismissal. When I come up there, I get a little nervous, I'll be honest with you, so.
Mr. Stafford, you're absolutely right. As we started there, we've mentioned that there are a couple hot spots we're aware of. And I can tell you that we, in the safety office, just a number of different persons for, quite frankly, a couple of years now at least, have been monitoring and paying attention and discussions and conversations, even about the parking scenario that you raised. We've been talking about a lot of that for quite a bit of time. Where we currently are, because we do not have crossing guards in the Richland County side of the house, we have a petition to take a look at how we can fill that void, how we can fill that absence or that gap. And so we've taken a liberty to look into doing the bid through our procurement process and looking at that for companies that can assist us and that they can partner with Richland County in their own way so that we don't have to employ staff or we don't have to employ persons of lay people, if you will, to be in the roads and trying to direct traffic. We don't want to have that kind of liability. So we have petition for a bid that closes on tomorrow, and we'll see what comes of that. And with fingers crossed, if you will, we hopefully will have something in the very near future that will be able to address the issues that we're talking about in the areas in which we're talking about as well.
It's almost like it would be neat if you had a place where they had access over top of the traffic. If there was a walkway that, they could walk up a few stairs and cross the road and then get down.
Right.
Because I'm telling you, you go up there and sit and watch the kids cross up there. And they have signs that said, please look out for the kids.
Absolutely.
Mr. Herring?
I have two brief questions. When you said that you have folks on the Richland and Lexington County side, do you mean there are Richland and Lexington County officers at all of these locations?
No, sir, they're crossing guards, but they're employed. So on the Lexington County side, they are civilians employed by Lexington County Sheriff's Department to be a crossing guard.
Okay.
They are not a sworn deputy.
Got it.
So they are just crossing guard.
And what are the qualifications? How are they different for someone, say, that is going to be a crossing guard across St. Andrews Road versus across Crossbow that is right in front of Harbison West?
They receive the same amount of training. It's the same amount of training. The reason I brought up Crossroads right there is it being a 4-lane road, there's actually 2 for that one crossing walk. Whereas normally if it's a 2-lane road, there's just one crossing guard.
Right, and
Yeah.
I almost witnessed one this morning have an accident. I could barely see the crossing guard over the cars that were in front of me. That's why I was asking, like, qualifications. I'm not, like, what kind of training are they getting? So if you feel like they're being trained properly.
And we can get that information for you if you want to, their training, but it's the standardized Lexington County crossing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So what it sounded like is we might possibly have a company that the district will pay for some of these high-need areas?
If all continues to go well, Mr. Bannon, we certainly look forward to that level of support here in our district, yes.
Okay, because I did a little bit of like research when I called Richland County and found out, that they discontinued that due to the administrative burden. But worst case scenario, you've got officers that will do it, but it's like, I think 55 an hour, and they do a 2-hour minimum, so that's always an option to actually do traffic control. So for like the Chapin area, if it's just a complete snarled area, it might be an option. And also PTO groups have reached out that they're open to volunteering, but we would want to make sure that they're trained through Richland County, understand traffic laws, background check, stuff like that. So there's a couple options if that doesn't pan out.
Yeah, we've explored that, and I appreciate that. And certainly, considering the need and the safety matters, nothing's off the table, I don't think. But I would tell you that, and Officer Wise can certainly correct me where I'm wrong, having been an officer prior to being a safety officer in the district. It's really a hit and miss with officers in terms of that $55 minimum 3-hour. It's really a hit and miss scenario there. You won't have the same officer. You may not have your person every day. It just kind of contingent upon who's available. And so we've looked at that a couple of different times, but it doesn't give us the level of consistency that we need to support the concerns that we have.
Ms. Barnhart?
My question was answered.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay, I'm sorry. Anybody else? All right, thank y'all so much.
Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you, Dr. Harris, and Mr. Pollock, and Mr. Wise for that report. And this time we'll move forward to our financials. We'll do 2 months. So coming to the lectern is our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Heather Tucker, to present our June and July financial reports.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Ross. Tonight we have our monthly financial reports for June and July. I apologize that these are a bit delayed. We had some delayed tax returns from the county coming in, so I wanted to make sure we had complete financial reports before we presented to the board. For the month end of June, this is our fiscal year end. Now, I do want to make you aware that we are still in the process of closing out our year end, so this will not directly tie to our audited financial statements because we are still closing out our books and working on our audited financial statements for the auditor. But this is where we are as of June 30th. We ended the year with revenue higher than projected. I do think that our revenue will be better in line now that we have increased our collection percent for our budget that we're for the year that we are currently in. So our revenue from our local sources should be better in line with our actual budget as we move into 25-26. You will see that our state source of revenue was under projection. Our state aid to classroom did come in at 96% as opposed to the 100% where we thought we were going to end the year last year. That is related to essentially the adjustments that were made based on the 10th day from our charter schools from the loss of students last year. So those adjustments were made throughout the year last year. We started seeing that decline in November, and we saw our monthly state aid to classroom decrease over the year last year. So the increased local support did help out with our overall revenue for the year. Our month end for June for our expenditures, we were over budget last year. A lot of this was due to salaries. Just looking throughout the different expenditure lines, we were over in elementary programs, high school programs, over in homebound, and that's one of those things that we base off of expenditures from the previous year, but there's a lot of things that we don't know moving into the budget season, so some of those have to be adjustments through the year, but we were over in those lines, as well as just essentially over in salaries across the board. For our July financials, again, this is just the first month of our fiscal year, and remember, we were not 100% operational in July. We had just come off the cyber breach, and we did not have our financial systems fully functional at this time. So while it does look like our revenue is down, we were also delayed in collecting taxes, and our expenditures, again, we just were not fully functional during July. So our expenditures were also below where we were this time last year because we were still getting ourselves back up and running after June. So I will stand for any questions.
Do we have any questions for Ms. Tucker? Ms. Huddle and then Mr. Bainum?
If you wouldn't mind, go back to the June revenue. Okay, so we ended up with $16,460,000 more revenue than projected. Did I read that right?
9 million. So we ended at 249 million versus 240. So the total revenue through 6/30/2025, the next to the last line.
Oh, okay. So so you're calculating in your head. It's not on here, right?
It is. It's the
Where is
the
it?
very bottom. The very bottom line is through 2024. So that's where we ended last year. The 232 to 240. Let's see if I can get the.
I guess I was trying to compare the 240. Okay, so it was 9 million. 240, 100 was our budget, and we collected
249,
167. So it was almost exactly 9 million.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, and then if you go to the next slide. Okay, so on the expense side, we budgeted 240, 100, and we spent 248 too. So we spent 8.2 more.
8.2 more.
So our net budget surplus was about 800,000.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All right, thank you so much, Ms. Tucker.
At this time, coming to the lectern to deliver our quarterly operations report is our Chief of Operations, Dr. Gerald Geary.
Thank you, Dr. Ross, Madam Chair, members of the board. As Mr. Knox comes forward to do our construction update, I want to give an update on our indoor air quality work that's currently being done at our district office. On August 26th, we had Crossroads Environmental come out and perform indoor air quality testing on 2 office areas by taking samples of what appeared to be some type of microbial growth that had been observed by employees. These samples were sent to Hayes Microbial Consulting in Virginia, which is a lab that conducts testing for them. On September 2nd, after completing the testing, they confirmed there were slightly elevated areas of growth in these 2 offices. Out of an abundance of caution, the executive staff made the decision to have the entire district office and the portables clean and conduct testing again before allowing employees to return to those areas. On 9/3, podium restoration was deployed at 12 noon and worked Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 8 to 8 to have this building cleaned. This morning, Crossroads Environmental came back at 9:30 to collect samples again of those same offices and other spaces at the district office, and they have been sent back to Hayes Microbial again for additional testing. We anticipate having those results back this Wednesday, along with their recommendations as to how to proceed.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Ross. I'm pleased to bring to y'all our overall construction update within the district. First, I want to touch on the HVAC report. This was first, I think, presented a couple of years ago for us to really track to see how we as the district, how we are doing when it comes to our overall HVAC program. versus us looking at every count of every piece of equipment that we have, we looked at overall life expectancy and the life of the actual equipment at each school. So here in 2023, we can see that we have, I think it's about 12 schools, 12 sites that are over the 15-year age limit, the average age limit for equipment. And in 2024, as we received the data, we were able to improve the overall numbers to where I think it's nine schools that their average life expectancy is over 15 years. So as we move into 2025, we'll see schools like Chapin Intermediate, they will be pretty far in the green at that point in time because we were able to replace a chunk of equipment over the summer break. So we hope to have that information the first quarter of 26. Our last PM for the year, I believe, is in it's around November, Thanksgiving timeframe for that PM. To date, we have approximately 53 portable HVAC units across the district. That could be the 1-ton units, or it could be the larger 5-ton units, depending on the overall space. Typically, if we have someone say, hey, they put in a request, we have a piece of equipment that's down, we know we have to get parts, we deploy a spot cooler in that classroom. Now, whether or not it gets used, that's up to, the school itself, but we deploy spot coolers in those classrooms. So with this number, taken into account with our overall HVAC units that we have across the district, we're at 1.2%. Then since spring break, we replaced 45 rooftop units.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
While we're on HVAC, when you say portable units, you're not talking about like the portable unit we had in our meeting room for executive session?
Yes, sir. So
Those
we will.
big, loud, very loud.
That-
So those are in classrooms?
So if we have a unit that's out, and we may not, and let's say if it takes several days to get parts, we need to have some sort of conditioning, and that the unit can be ran throughout the evening. It can also be ran when there's no students in the classroom. So there is flexibility for the teacher to shut that unit off if they need to. And I mean, they have local control of that.
The reason I ask, and I know it, I don't know that it matters age group in any way, shape, or form, but I remember how loud those things were, and we could not hardly hear one another in there. I couldn't imagine having a bunch of third graders and you're trying to teach them something. Are there smaller, quieter ones, or are they all? Is there just a standard portable unit that?
That's a typical standard one. I think it's a ton and a half. Now, they do have larger ones that are quieter, but you have to put them outside. You have to replace, pull out a window, replace ductwork,
Sure.
and then have a generator to operate it. So we've actually had to utilize units like that. I think one of them was over at Irmo Elementary School.
Yeah, I know 53 is a good many classrooms. And then the previous slide that you showed, it said 15-year, and probably Ms. Barnhart can answer this question, 15-year life expectancy of these units. And while there were several in the red, there's a lot in the orange and the yellow and all that. Is this one of the issues that keeps us very busy with schools and?
Yes, sir, it does. So we have everything from circuit boards, control boards that may no longer be readily available. There may be coils for the refrigerant that they no longer manufacture for really old pieces of equipment. And then we go through these cycles of changing out refrigerants to a newer type of refrigerant. So at a lot of our schools, we still have R22 units, and we're in the process of phasing those out to bring in and install newer units.
With these older models that we've had for quite some time, are parts hard to get?
They are hard to get.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple questions. One is, each school has many units, right? So like, for example, just Ballantyne Elementary, is that the age of the oldest unit or the average?
These are it's an average.
Okay,
Because
so, so do you have any idea district-wide, like how many total units we have that are over 15 years old, regardless of where they are?
we can slice the data and find out.
Okay, I was just curious. And then the other question I had is, kind of what's the process? So if a teacher at Ballantyne
Yeah.
says, my classroom's way too hot, where does it go from there?
So if a teacher says, hey, it's too hot in here, typically what happens is they will notify the facility supervisor, the head custodian at each school. Then they take that information and then they process a work order. We have asked them to take the actual temperature of the air coming out of the unit, because what may be hot for somebody may not be hot for another person. So we just want to measure to make sure, hey, are we getting 50-some, 40-some degree air coming out of that unit? And that kind of helps us determine what's going on from there. So that's typically the process.
And does
with
that
how it
go
gets
to,
us.
like from there, does it go straight to the vendor, or does it go to the internal HVAC team?
It goes to the internal HVAC team. So then we have another component. We go and we have to double check our control system that controls all the equipment. We check that, and then at the same time, then we'll deploy somebody out to a site to check the unit to make sure that it is operational. Because it could be, well, our district standard is 74 degrees, and it may be the temperature's at 75. So it's still stuck in a dead band, so it's got to get a little warmer before the air cuts on. So it could be something along those lines.
And that triggered one. So there's no ability of a teacher to set the thermostat in the classroom?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I thought.
A couple questions.
Yes,
The portable units, how are we acquiring those?
It's through a rental.
A rental? Generally speaking, about how much are those? I mean, to rent and for the duration that we would use them?
I would have to get that information. I don't have it
Okay.
readily available.
And then the 45 units that you said have been replaced since spring break, who is putting those in?
So it's a mix of, we have a contract with Newberry County. We've utilized Train, we've utilized Daikin, and then our own internal group, they've done some replacements.
So there's not a company that we're working with to install them, we're doing them in-house, or?
Well, so it depends on the situation. So we do work with other companies like Train. We'll have Train actually come install them at the rooftop units, because we'll have to get a crane, and there's a lot of moving pieces and parts with that. If it's a smaller unit, one that controls maybe, let's say, an IDF closet that has all your data switches and everything else, that might be something we would do internally.
Okay. Go ahead.
Y'all might have discussed this when y'all were prepping for the bond referendum last year, and obviously it's changed now. Is there kind of like a rough estimate running, if we had to fix everything tomorrow, HVAC related, what the cost would be, or is it just as it comes up? Just wondering if we could, if you had all the money we needed to fix it, would we just contract out like what you're doing to get them all taken care of, or is it worst case scenario on down the line?
So if I'm understanding this correctly, it would be something we'd have to do in phases. I mean, there's no single company that could handle all the work across the entire district. Just from getting items and pieces of equipment manufactured, they run in lots. So it would be hard for us to say, hey, we want to do everything in the district all at once. There was a number we looked at one point in time for us to get everything below that 15-year marker. We'd have to replace, I want to say it's 200 plus units a year. If you look at that and then you add the price for these units, it's in the millions of dollars. Now, through our capital process, every year we're allocating more and more money, and these things are not going down in price, they're going up in price. So, we're trying to stay ahead of the curve by, doing a chunk of these every year.
You mentioned that there's sort of a mix match of units and I guess, not vendors, but the actual brand of the units. Are our folks all trained to work on all of them?
So we can, our internal folks can work on some of them, but when we get to the schools like Irmo Elementary, they have VRF systems. It's a variable refrigerant system, so you can heat and cool a space off of one condenser. Think of it like your house. If you're in one room and you want it cooler, and your wife's in another room and she wants it warmer, you can actually do that with these types of systems. They're very complex, and we do not have the capability to work on those systems.
Okay. And going forward, looking some of the new facilities we're looking at, are we going to try to install units that would be serviceable by our own people?
Yes, sir.
Is that something to consider?
Yes, sir. That is the goal, was to move to something that we can actually service and maintain. Okay, roof updates. So every week we send out a roofing update to all the affected schools. So if we have 10 different schools administrators, they get tagged in on this report. Currently, we have 14 sites that have reported leak issues. 5 of those are under warranty. 7 of them have been issued purchase orders, and then there are 2 sites that we're still waiting quotes back from our vendors. Now, this changes week to week, so we're trying to turn these as fast as we possibly can. Sometimes the warranty issues take a little while, and we are actively working with our partners, the manufacturers of these roofing systems, to get these items resolved. So here, now we're just going to go over a couple visuals from some of the work that's taken place throughout the district. Here to the left, we have Chapin Intermediate. They replaced, I want to say it was maybe 12 rooftop units there over the summer. And then to the right, we have a through-wall vent unit that is over at Ballantyne. So we're in the process of changing all those units out at Ballantyne. These are like the older systems I remember growing up with, and they're a little dated, and we can no longer get parts for these units. So we're trying to do a mass push to replace every one of them. To the left, we have a backflow preventer that was replaced at Chapin High School. And to the right, this is a water heater at H.E. Corley. I don't know where the other picture went to. We have we did a good bit of cosmetic work over the summer. This is one of the bathrooms here, but for some reason the picture didn't show up. Oh, it's the next one. Oh, I'm sorry. So you can tell there's a big difference. If you've been in any of the bathrooms, and there's the boys' restroom, and you talk with the administrators at those schools, they will tell you this is making a huge difference. Stuff gets on the floor. Sometimes, when you have an older a school where the tile may look, from afar may look okay, there's definitely some issues with the grout and stuff like that. Just, it needs to be refreshed, it needs to be resealed. So we've done a lot of work throughout the district this summer, from a cosmetic side. Here we have Dutch Fork Middle School. You can, you look at it, you kind of see the VCT tile. It's a vinyl composite tile. It's got the green going down the sides. The school was in need of an update and a refresh. Here we have the after product we put in. It's a product called Texas Granite. It's not really granite. It looks like terrazzo. It is our base flooring that we do have in the district. It's a no wax, low sheen product, and it'll withstand the test of time. So we're trying to produce a lot of those man hours of somebody, on a buffing machine or trying to strip and wax floors to having a floor they can go through and do a pass with a floor cleaning machine and have it looking really good. And then we did a lot of painting throughout the school. Here's our latest aerial view of Irmo High School. As you can see, we have the front parking area has been paved. And I think all the windows are in the school now, so it's definitely making a lot of progress since the last time everyone's made a visit to the school. Inside, we have the media center. It's really starting to take shape now. It is something to see. And then to the right, we have the social stair, and you can see the folks from EdCon are placing the steel, and they're prepping for the concrete pour. Here are our change orders. We had a total of 4, with one of them being a credit back to the project. This is an aerial view that we've seen before for the new Dutch Fork Elementary site. So we are estimating closing on the property in the latter part of September. We hope to have a bid time frame, sometime late fall, early winter, so we can get pricing on that. And this is just additional images of what the school could look like. And this is the classroom and then the hallways. On to Chapin Elementary, you can see we've relocated the portables. They should be able to occupy them very soon. There was one thing that our inspector was requiring us to have, and it's some kind of battery-operated exterior lighting. That is the last key thing that we found out that we have to get before they can be occupied. Outside of that, everything else is ready to go with the portables. As you can see here, and I don't know if y'all remember, but if you kind of look to the left, you'll see all the construction barrier there. That's where we were during the groundbreaking ceremony. But all the portables and all the asphalt has been removed over at Chapin Elementary, and they should be I think digging and pouring footers here in the next week or so. So they're moving along. Lake Murray, here you can see that the portables have been removed, and they're in the process of pulling up the asphalt at that location. And I stand for any questions.
Ms. Huddle, then Mr. Bainum.
What's the current deadline for the new East Wing for Irmo?
The new East Wings, I want to say it is going to be late spring, summertime of next year. Okay. So everything will be ready for us to transition to the rezoning.
Okay. And I cannot remember, was the demolition included, the old East Wing, was that demolition included with this plan, or is that separate?
That was separate.
Okay.
Two things real quick.
Yes, sir.
One thing, we've got a lot of correspondence in reference to various schools, and I don't know if it ties into these temp units or not with the HVAC, with the mold issues at the various schools. You have high fluctuations with it super cold, and then it can get humid. I don't know if there's any correlation, so I'm sure y'all are. We forwarded the, emails that we get from parents and stuff. And then the other one tied into the, I believe there's bond funds for it. Some of the high schools, maybe not, and middle schools. With the boys' bathrooms, I noticed some of the updates here with the divider walls. If that's something that we can look into to see what bathrooms don't have those and what it would cost to add something, because that'll speed up traffic, get them in and out, so there's less chances of standing around, getting into trouble, vaping, if we've got more areas for them to use the restroom.
Gotcha. And one thing that I know we did do to help speed up, getting kids in and out of the restroom was we took out some of the mirrors at the high schools, because they would sit there and just stand and look at the mirror all day long. And some of the administrators they requested to remove mirrors, especially out of the boys. I don't think we moved many out of the female restrooms, but they just said the students would just kind of stare in the mirror all day.
That was just a follow-up from Mr. Bainum's question. The Crossroads Environmental that we brought into the district office, I've heard the concerns about the mold in some of the schools as well. Is that something that we could send out to the schools that are having these concerns in the same way that we did at the DO to just test and see?
So if somebody requests to have it tested and it gets brought to our attention through a work order, then we do have it tested.
So that
So-
would just be something that would need to be done from the school level to bring to y'all's attention, to get them out there to look at it?
I'm sorry, I can barely.
That would just need to be something that would need to be brought to y'all's attention from the school level in order to get you out there and maybe get this same testing done?
Yes, ma'am. So they just have to request that through us. And we do want the school to take a look at it too, to say, hey, this needs to be tested. But we do a lot of business with those folks, and they test just like any other facility. We just have that standard process.
Anybody else? All right, thank you.
That concludes the superintendent's report, and I stand for any questions.
Any additional questions? All right, thank you.